Hey everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's on the Tube, or welcome back if this is your fourth Under the Banner of Heaven episode review. It's been a very interesting week, let's say that. It's been a long week as well, because I was actually pretty curious to see where the benefit of me watching a mystery show is that once we get the balls rolling here with the actual mystery itself, then I start to get more invested. Like I said last week, this week continue that. I felt like there was more, I don't know why, like the show's so far blending in into the point where like it's now become 50-50. You get the present day storyline. There was a little bit more emphasis on the flashbacks this go around, since they were still like building up the story and they're still building up. We're getting more of the timeline, and it's going by a little too swiftly in my opinion, that I'm still wondering how the heck are you gonna do the, like I remember this, I think this show's only 7 episodes, I said before, so we're at the halfway mark officially, so I'm not surprised we're gonna start winding down a little bit, but I don't know, like I still feel like we're catching up pretty quickly. I feel like next week's going to be the one where we're gonna like fully catch up, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. Again, like I said with anything I review, I trust the writers more than myself, so I'll let them guide the course towards the final episodes, and we'll see how it goes. But overall for this week, I enjoyed it a lot. The mystery definitely developed more. I had to like actually rewind a couple scenes because I didn't really get it 100% with them explaining the religious background context, which again I'm not really very savvy in the knowledge of that world, so that's why I had to like, so I don't misstep or say something incorrect that didn't really happen, just to make sure that I don't disrespect anything. And even if I do, like, I apologize again. Like again, this is something I watch these types of shows to learn new things and to learn a new about something in a new world and gather that knowledge for myself. So with that being said, let's go for the butcher recap and talk about this week's episode of Under the Banner of Heaven. So we begin with, damn, where did we begin? Oh no, I'm already blanking again. Oh god, that's not a good sign. That really isn't a good sign, because I'm trying to think. The first thing I remember, yeah, they're on the hunt for everyone else, all the supposed people that are on this list of people that need to be eliminated, so that the bearded men, let's call them, can actually continue their work to rediscovering the true the true way of being a Mormon. Um, that was Dan. That was the primary focus on this week. Like, how did we get to that point where like Dan got pushed into that direction? And so I believe, yeah, we could. My only issue is that this has happened in the last show where they leave off on a big cliffhanger the last week, and then when they come back this week, it's mostly resolved. Like the tension's gone. It really dies down. And I know that at the end of the day, you have to leave one of these types of episodes like on a big note, so it's like you are inclined to come back next week. But in reality, I felt like this kind of like really tempered quickly, because they got a majority of the people already. There's still a couple people missing, but they're still out there, and obviously there's still the big question of where is Dan now? What happened to the other brothers? There's still a lot of unanswered questions that we still might have for the world. I don't know if we interrogate any of the brothers yet. I think there's I think they just call it a night. They head over to the next day. They're getting ready for the girls. Jeb heads back home to have breakfast with the family. His mom is still dealing with dementia. It's getting a little bit more worse after last episode's incident. Jeb's wife's getting a little bit fed up with this, since okay, if you don't want to send your mom to a home, I get that, but can we at least start putting her on medication so that there is some sort of control, and that she doesn't have to 100% worry about like what she could do, because she is medicated. But of course, because of their faith, they cannot. But Jebs doesn't really 100% focus on that because, well, two things. One, it turns out the news reporters are beginning to start leaking some very classified pieces of the case. So now it's starting to come out there that there's something like bigger out there, and there's in their faith that they have to be concerned about. And Jeb's trying to get in touch with where there was that he knows there was a certain point of contact that one of the Lafrays did before everything happened, and it turned out to be that I think the older brother Ron, played by Sam Worthington, he visited the bank before, like not too long before this occurred, the events of the show occurred, and he was no, we don't get to the information yet, but he was there. He went to a bank teller or just a bank employee, and who was also a big member of their community. So Jeb heads over there to get some information. He gives him like a recap, let's say, of that day's events, where he came in, he was asking for a loan so that he could continue to support his family, support his business, for this like very troubling times. But the bank teller tells him like, yeah, you're most likely not going to get approved for any sort of loan because of this letter that got sent out to the bishop not too long ago that was in the handwriting of your wife, indicating that there was some troubling times ahead for the LaFrays, as well as Dan telling everyone like, don't pay your taxes, it's a scam, you have no right to do it. It's like, oh god, like this is starting to become a little bit deranged, so to speak. And this is the second time I've seen Dan's actor Wyatt Russell go crazy in front of me. So I'm like, huh, why does it have to happen always? This guy can go crazy. I know he has a TV show on AMC at one point. I forgot what the name was. Maybe I'll check it out later. Who knows? I'm not sure where. I'm gonna go with more of the flashback because that's what I'm remembering right now. Because after that piece of information, I think Jeb returns to the station to interrogate the brother a little bit more. I believe that's what occurs. But so basically, what happens in the flashback was that at some point this goes completely unaware. Apparently, in the last 3 episodes, or maybe I missed this point. But apparently, at some point during the flashbacks, Dan ran for sheriff because he thinks that him being in office or having some sort of power would begin to like collapse the system's attempts to unlawfully tax the people, which I'm like, I don't think that's what the sheriff does, really. I mean, I get what he doesn't have to like arrest people if they don't pay taxes, which I guess kind of works. But eventually, someone will step in and saying like, "Yo, where's our taxes? Like, this got to be paid, and no one's doing it." So, I can imagine why that would be an issue down the line. But that was the platform he was running on. Not too much of Alan and Brenda this week. The primary focus in the last 3 weeks was on them and their history. We're kind of shifting the focus to how deranged the LaFrays have been getting, and this is probably around the time Alan and Brenda kind of split off from them, kind of trying to do their own thing. But Alan was still very much involved in his brother's what they were up to because they're still family whatsoever. So during one of his political rallies, he was joking around with a gypsy, I think, and he kissed her, and his dad was morally against this because in their faith they can only be monogamous, so they can only have one partner, and he's still married, but Dan is still continuing the phrase of like well, this said this, so it's like in the original teaching this is what it was, and if we actually like really pay attention to the stories of Joseph. When he was, beginning to be the prophet, and his early years, there was a time where he was polyamorous, and his dad's like, that's whatever it is, that's not what we follow today. That's not our beliefs. You need to come back to the light, so to speak, and kind of return back to us. Return back to the Dan you were before. And he cried for a bit, indicating like maybe he was starting to see like he was pushing his family away, but sadly it wasn't enough since not too long after that, Dan resumed his quest to tell everyone, hey, this is taxes are not justifiable. And one of the things he did in order to continue his fight for this is he started reaching out to a very fragmented group of the Mormons, a very unaccepted group where they kind of are believing into what Dan is slowly finding out, but they don't even want Dan involved since they just don't trust outsiders. So even Dan tries to like sugarcoat his way in there, but they're like, nope, you're not allowed here, so get the hell off. But Dan, that only just encourages Dan to continue trying to find any sort of piece of evidence to kind of support his claims that like God is telling me that there was a way before we are now, that there was an original way, and we need to go back to that original way. That's the path that I'm on. I need to get back there so everyone can enjoy it. But break with the flashbacks, back to the present day for a second. I know Jeb sends out one of his cops who is very inexperienced. This is probably his only probably his only like big case in the town. where he's just basically doing some of the grunt work, like going around interviewing witnesses, trying to find some of the remaining people on the list. And he's always asking like, okay, and then what? Like, what do you want me to do? And like, it's like, is that it? And it's like he's very uncertain because he hasn't had much like on hand experience with this thing, so which is understandable. But it is kind of funny, like you work in the police force, and there just rarely is anything going on that you're just like really baffled with. Oh, what is next? What is the next thing for us to do? So he's sent off there. So I think mainly Jeb and his partner stay at the station most of the episode, just getting the flashbacks. I don't recall them stepping out at any moment. I don't believe. I'm trying to remember quickly. I don't think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we don't. I know we get another side of. They go back to Alan a little bit because eventually, Dan does find the original, the Peacemaker, which is ironic because we had a TV show called Peacemaker not long ago. But the Peacemaker kind of is Joseph's original notes on everything Dan is saying, that yeah, this existed, this was a transcribed article, here it is, let's go. And we get the flashbacks in the flashbacks where we see Joseph and his wife settle in a new town, and this is where he was around the time he was trying to proclaim that God is telling me I can have more than one wife. His wife is not taking it seriously because she's like, oh, you're only considering me boring, so you want to have a new wife to spice things up. That's basically what you're trying to tell me. And he's like, no, that's not what I'm trying to say. And she's like, well, I've been there with you when you were scribing these texts, helping you pitch the original take of the Mormon, and I've been supporting you every step of the way. And now you're telling me that you want to start seeing other people. And a very creepy thing that honestly I even have to accept. Yeah, I personally don't accept this at all. Was that we kind of flashback? Maybe this was in episode 3. I mean, I just didn't pay much mind to it. It was more on the other part of it that. I thought last week that the scene where he was almost being held off to get his nuts chopped off by the doctor, by the town folks, for his punishment for cheating on his wife as well as sleeping with a minor, which is like, wait, I didn't know about the sleeping with a minor part. Like, I didn't know that part at all. And then we get a shot of a not a terribly young girl, but like maybe like 15, 16, just looking at the wife, indicating like, yeah, she was the one that slept with him. And his wife was kind of really taken aback that, that facial expression just proved that, yeah, I actually did sleep with your husband. But right now she can't really think of that because, her husband could have had his entire genitals cut off, but the story on that. And she's like, okay, you know what? I'll agree to your polyamorous ways. That's perfectly fine, but I'm allowed to have multiple husbands then. And he's like, no, if you try to do that, God is telling me now, you try that, you're not going to go to heaven. Like, that's it. So you have to stay true to me, but I'm allowed to go around. Which honestly, that's like, honestly, I haven't really done much research on polyamorous relationships that much in terms of like, I know there's like a TV show called Sister Wives on TLC. I know that, where one man has, I think he bought 4 houses, like all in close proximity to each other, so that they could all just be one big family, and they're all accepting the fact that, yeah, he's multiple people's partner and they have all kids of their own, which I'm like thinking, Jesus Christ, the amount of money this guy should be making to afford all of this has to be high, because I can't even imagine that. I know there's some cultures that do believe like, yeah, you could have multiple wives, like it's totally fine. That's not me. I'm a mono. Like I'm gonna find the one person, get married, and settle down, and that's it. That's my stance on it. But that's not the case with everything, and but it's always like I've never personally seen like cases or stories, and maybe I just haven't looked enough, where a woman has multiple husbands. I never seen that before. I've seen movies where girls have multiple boyfriends, but it's 2 completely different things. But he's like, nope, that's not happening. You're for me. That's it. Like, you're done. I can still keep looking, which is still like a very BS way of saying, like, the usual, like, I'm the guy, so I get the right away. You don't. That's kind of like what I'm thinking subtly, but, and it kind of paints the question, or at least this scene kind of, for me, it gives me the concern that, like, oh, maybe at first he was like, speaking the true Mormon way. Like, that's what he was being told, that this is how it is. And I can accept that. But then all just the way, like, the recent his recent words have been expressed. It doesn't seem like it's from God itself. It seems like it's personal, like it's what he wants. And since he's kind of like the prophet for this, this new sector of religion, then he could maybe get away with a couple things that benefits him. That's what I'm getting. Again, it's all hearsay. She said the only proof in the matter is that this person was a real person. So the only way you can know for sure is if you were actually in his mindset, which no one can do that, so it's always left up to speculation, in my opinion, that it'll never be resolved. But that's kind of was like the beginning of like his kind of personal take on the Mormons, basically. And so he did write that down. So there was the original text he supposedly transcribed from God, and then there's the secondary ones where it was just mainly benefiting him. So food for thought there. So during this time period, once Jeb was hearing this specific story, he does have moments where like it's starting to like to make him feel sick, because again, he grew up with the Mormon way. That's how his entire lifestyle is. That's how he's been living his life with his family, and so that to now really have to be in close contact with another sector of what you believe in. I'm not surprised the reaction, the stuff, like he just wants to get away from this. He wants to throw up. He wants to express his disbelief and his not disgustingness, but like his discomfort with what these people are trying to do, and say like, this is factual, what you've been doing is wrong. Like, it's starting to get on him. It's starting to weigh on him a little bit. I think the only other flashbacks I forgot was once Dan finds a very legitimate copy of the Peacemaker, he shows it to his wife, and mainly he's pointing out the fact that, apparently to be in heaven you need to have multiple partners, because that means you're fully true to what God intended for you to live. And his wife's same thing, like Joseph's wife. It's like, no, like, it's just you and me. Like, I didn't agree to you having multiple partners. And Dan's only concerned, like, I gotta get to heaven. Like, that's all I care about. Like, if God's saying have multiple partners and you'll get into heaven, I'm gonna do it. I don't care. And she's like very much getting mad at him, and he's getting mad at her too, because like, you're not supposed to speak to me like that. Like, you have to watch your tone and agree with what I'm saying, because this is exactly what's gonna get us into heaven at the end of our lives. But he's starting to get a little bit more aggressive, because the way she keeps going and talking, that he doesn't have the right how do I say that? He doesn't have the right patience level for this, and the cops pulls him over because he was speeding, and then he starts saying the conspiracy theory that all the officers are against me because they're all tied to this corrupt way of thinking, that they're trying to like arrest me so that I'm not in the right anymore, so that they can keep the ways they were before. That's what he believes. He ensues a car chase. Not too bad by 50-60 standards. It's not really too bad, I'll give it that, but eventually he gets cornered. He says deuces, gets out of the car, starts running away, but the cops immediately get him. Like, he doesn't really go that far. So they have him in custody. We head over to the prison cell, where I'm assuming he got sentenced already, or he's just being held to his trial. And all the LaFrey brothers are there, just there to support their brother. Majority's still under his thumb, saying that, yes, we believe in you. We're going to get you out somehow, and then you're going to resume our good work. In this scene's context, Rom seems like to be still the one where the older one were like, you're acting crazy. You need to back out now. Like, it's time for this fantasy to end. It's time for this to be over. But no, what's the name? But I forgot. Like, I just blanked out there for a second. I apologize. Like, oh my God. I just, like, my brain just exploded. Like, what the hell was I saying? I apologize. But so prison side, but Dan tells him, like, nope, I'm in prison now. There's nothing I can do, but I will get out eventually. But until then, you're in charge. You need to continue my good work. You need to continue fighting for the true Mormon belief, and that you're the only one who can handle this. Ron's showcasing very much like feelings of like, this is wrong. I don't want to do this. You got to pay your time, pay your taxes, and get the hell out, because you got a family that's waiting for you. But Dan's so against the poor boy. He does not care. He just wants to fulfill what God wants supposedly from him, and to get into heaven. That's his only primary concern. This is where Alan interjects, saying that like before they all left to go home, Dan pulls him back a little bit so that he can read the Peacemaker in his spare time. And yeah, he doesn't agree with mostly everything. He doesn't agree on the polyamorous lifestyle. He just wants to stay married to Brenda. That's it. But he does kind of accept like, okay, if Brenda agrees to like basically serve on my on whatever I want, that's technically fine. That's enough to cover yourself. But if it's just it becomes problematic the more you think about it. Like there's always these loopholes, and there's always like, well, did God really intend that because of this or this? And it's like it gets confusing. So I do understand it. At some point we get another flashback. It comes at the end of the episode where it's Dan before he gets arrested that Ron is still very much against this way, and this was like around the time where Alan steps in and like tells him like, yeah, like um Ron was in on it for a while. Like he was very well aware of what Dan was doing, and it seemed like the corruption that Dan had performed that didn't happen earlier than was thought, because they all thought that he either is blissfully unaware or he just joined late. No, he's known for a while, especially since the bank teller meeting. So Jeb angrily calls back up the teller, asking him like, "Hey, what's up? Like, I called you. You said this thing, and now I'm getting like, other evidence saying that, oh no, like, this happened instead." Because the way that flashback scene ended the last time was that saying the bank teller telling, "Hey, look, don't blame your wife. It was probably a misunderstanding, and you don't have to punish her for it." But continuing that scene, Jeb does angrily leave the bank because he is mad at his wife for doing this to them and preventing them from continuing their family business whatsoever. But we don't get to see even the fallback of that yet. So after that point, I want to say, so yes, that's the definitive take on that scene. But obviously Jeff's still concerned, like, well, if he was in on it longer, then what else was he in on? And there's still a lot of big questions left over because we still haven't found them yet. We don't know their sides of the story, so we kind of got a little bit more information in the right way, but it's still like, well, there's still more than we found. And also, yeah, Alan did confirm that. Oh well, despite Ron's wife writing the letter, it was actually Brenda transcribing it. She was the one saying it because he can feel her voice, her ways of speaking through the letter, even though it wasn't Brenda who wrote it. It's not her handwriting, but she did have like a symbolic, presence in the letter, and which falls in line with what Brenda said. Like Brenda wants to do everything he can to take down the LaFrays trying to do this corrupt thing, and then try to get Alan out of it so that they can maybe pursue a more civil, new, modern life. And Ron's wife was in on it. She definitely wanted to help. So there you go. That was Brenda's only involvement. She was pregnant by that point in the flashback. So, and then catches back up to everything that just happened right now, and then. So beyond afterwards, so they're about to continue investigating into the other brother. I forgot his name already. I don't think it's Ron. It's definitely not Ron. It's another one. But before they're able to like do another round on him, the actual police captain, the sheriff, comes in and like berates them for like dragging out this case. That like maybe Jeb needs to be pulled back a little bit since how serious he is in this religion, as well as just seeing all the evidence that he has to read and collect is basically going against the word of what they believe in if he does fall accustomed to it. That, which I'm like, not really. Just because you pick up something doesn't mean like you're gonna automatically adopt it. Like I can name a ton of times where I read something and it doesn't mean I actually conform to it. I read the bro code front to back. It doesn't mean I tried any of them. But so there you go. Like just because logic aside, that's how it was, and then. But he tells them that, hey, look, I organized a press conference. Everyone's outside. We're gonna give a very generic update because we don't need people thinking that, oh, there are people in town thinking about these, like I think they call them the fundamentalists. Like they kind of go back to the fundamentals, which is not allowed in the community because it's involved so much to the point. And then to clarify, I forgot there was the last flashback I forgot to mention was I think before Dan got arrested. Was the one where he was with all the family except Alan and Brenda. They did mention that their dad was slowly declining in health. The business was basically shut down by that point, among other things. So he was still holding shop in the basement, kind of continuing their work. That, yeah, I'm going to be sheriff. We're going to do this thing. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep fighting to go back to where things were before. And so they do the press conference. They're both biting their teeth because they really want to say what they know, so that maybe they can like get maybe a tip or something, so they can go find some of the other people on the list, especially to find where the hell Dan went. Jeb is then after I guess the captain or the sheriff speaks up a little bit. He lets Jeb take over the mic for a little bit, which I'm like, you're gonna let the most religious guy do his best to not express the fact that there's people out there that actually believe in these subsectors. That's a thing. Like you don't really need that right now, especially at the time period. And all Jeb had to do was like make it short and sweet, tell them exactly what they need to know, and then get out and get back to work on the floor. Sadly, he wasn't having it, so he does basically reveal a majority of like what he does know about the matter at that point. And I'm pretty sure that he's definitely the sheriff's not happy with that fact because he had a plan. He needs to kind of keep this constraint for now, so that once this is all over, the idea is basically gone. Like that's it. We kind of resume back to normal. Because in their mindset, the more people know about this, the more people that might leave our church in order to explore this church or this way of belief. So that's something that they do not want to deal with. So so they head back in. Jeb is still a little bit agitated by the whole thing. I honestly thought this was going to be a scene where the sheriff was going to yell at him, berating him for going off script or going off topic. But no, it's not him. I believe it was. It's just a random police. I think it's just a random police officer, just telling him, just stay calm. You're gonna get through it, and it's gonna be okay, regardless of what happened just now. And it really did. For me, I don't know, because I don't remember. I don't remember if we got. I mean, the sheriff just seems like your generic I don't believe in this modern way of thinking, or I'm not thinking of the bigger picture because I'm not that guy anymore. So what I say goes. That's basically it. I do not like people like that. I really don't. But again, I know it's a different time period, so I'm going to allow a pass for it for this time around. But maybe next time, maybe not so much. Just being completely honest there. Jeff's party tells him, just go back home, be with your wife and kids, before their communion tomorrow, so that they can resume their life basically without worry, if there really wasn't any worry. So Jeff's is struggling to sleep that night. We cut to the next day. His entire family is heading out to be there for when the girls finally do their first communion or their confirmation. I forgot what they called it. But some of the leaders in the Muslim community were like very much concerned because of Jeb's recent exposure to the fundamentalist point of view, the bearded men's point of view. Like it's a little alarming because they don't want that on their side of things. So let that be there. So they basically tell Jeb, hey, look, we're going to we need to have a private talk to you. It's just with the bishop. Just make sure you're still on the same page with us. Which I'm like, I really hope everybody happens to Jeb because I swear to God, this show is very unexpected, and I don't really expect anything by this point anymore. Like I just expect whatever's going to happen happens, and we just go go on from that point. I want to say we get another scene. We get the last scene. It's not a flashback. I know we get one more scene. It doesn't end with this whole big it's just Jeff has to go through this kind of reconditioning of sorts, making sure he's still aligned with what they believe in, not trying to diverge the path just because his investigation is leading him to have a much more open, broad sense of the situation, in my opinion. But we'll see how that goes. We'll see. Why am I really blanking out today? Jesus, I'm sorry. I'm still here, but my brain is I feel like the more I learned about this, the more my brain starts clocking in and out a little bit. Because I'm not saying it's a bad show, but I'm just saying that it's a lot that I have to, because I don't want to express anything that's off the beaten path a little bit. I want to say what needs to be said, exactly the way the show's trying to present it to me, and then express it to you as the viewer / fan, just to make sure we're on the same page here. That's not a good sign for Jeb. So we'll see how that goes next week. Just double checking my point. I'm trying to think. Did we get one more scene with? So the police officer that Jeb sent out into the world to kind of find any sort of clue or to find people on the list, and he does manage to find someone because someone was escorting him. to a creek or a lake, and they find the bishop. He finds the bishop, I think, and it's one of those weird, like, we're panning out, like it's the end of the movie, like, we found them, like, okay, so what do we do next? Like, which I was confused, like, wait, what are we doing next? I think I've officially lost track of the story. Like, I really don't know why he's fishing, and this random buff dude just led him to that. I lost the point across there, but that was it for this week's episode of Under the Banner of Heaven. For me, yeah, going into this, they're expressing more and more of the obvious in terms of, like, the flashbacks. Like, yeah, Dan is slowly losing his marbles. And from what again, like I said before, like, this was going to be a very opinionated show because, you're dealing with religion, and, my beliefs do not align with some other people's beliefs. So I do know, like, for me, in general, like, the way Dan is acting of this, like, big revelation, like, I've seen that before on TV, like, not in terms of, like, TV, like, TV news, like, this like, faction, like, realizing, like, no, this is the true way, we're going to convince you to join our side. That's right. That's kind of what I'm seeing here, where, he's very much thinking, like, yeah, this is the true way, but, like, well, in the world, like, everything is suggest everyone has their own beliefs. You don't have to force anything upon each other. The only thing I will admit to a certain point is that, for the government of the United States, at least, this is how I believe in it. I'm not trying to be a full, supporter here, but, like, I'm just expressing, like, well, I'm confused. Like, why do we have that? He did say, like, well, and during the scene where he's trying to convince Ron to join their side, where the whole family's on the basement of the LaFrey house, he was telling him, like, hey, look, why should we get taxed for something that we officially owe? Like, like, we own the land. Which I'm like, I get that point, but technically you're still on U.S. soil. So they could do what they want since they do own everything, which, again, like, I know, like, it's every country is different. I know there's other countries that do things that are better than us, but we do better things than other people. Like, you're never going to find a perfect country out there. It just depends on what you feel more comfortable living in as an arrangement, so to speak. So I do get that. I do get where he's coming from. That, I mean, hypothetically, should we get taxed? There's got to be a way for the country to make some money. So that, I guess, that's the only one. Otherwise, if we keep printing out money, it basically becomes useless after a certain point because there's just so much so much of it out there. Hell, I even, like, I think it was a TikTok or an IG post where it was, like, the purchasing power of $100 bill from the 50s, I believe, or the 40s. I think it was the 50s, where $100 in the 50s exactly meant $100. Right now, it's worth about $1 something, or 20 something. I forgot what it was, but it was extremely less than half. Which I'm like, so holding $100 today does not mean the same holding $100 back then, which it makes sense because, the more people there are there, the more money needs to be produced. And you know what? I'm getting off the beaten track here because I'm starting to slowly get into politics. I'm not trying to get into that right now. The point is, Dan is starting to go insane. So now we're going back to Joe's Mystery Corner. Gonna solve the case. Not really, but still. It's still Dan. Dan's violent outbursts are still continuing. He very much is beginning to lose control of his sanity a little bit. That I wouldn't be surprised if he did something as heinous. I'm still thinking there's still going to be that big last minute twist where, like, no, it's this brother that did it, not Dan, which I'm like, it could still happen. There's 3 more episodes left until the end. So I'm going to expect anything for this murder. Because, like, with any murder mystery, like, you never really know who really did until you actually see what had happened and, exactly how it goes. Because, again, there's still a decent amount of time left before we catch up to, like, where, like, I'm pretty sure next week would be how does Brenda really affect what the going against the LaFreys fully, like, declaring war on Dan and, like, going against his beliefs. Since Dan got Ron involved, and Ron was very much a stubborn person to not get involved in this, but he did get involved because it's just his own personal circumstance, which is another thing. Sometimes you're at your most vulnerable when you get recruited into these sort of things. Like, it's not really you. It's just your mindset's just really burned down. Like, you know what? I'll do it. I'll sign up. But overall speaking, in terms of the present day stuff, I think Jeb and his partner, not Jeb and his partner, Andrew is still doing a good job leading the cast a little bit. He's just, this episode, I don't think he did much. I think him questioning, everything, like, because again, I find it believable when you believe something for so long and then you have people that are very much vehemently against what you believe in, and then you see that and they're not getting really punished for it in their mindset, because like if you grew up like as an extremely religious person, you always believe that, oh, if you commit a sin, that's basically the biggest thing you can do, and then you're basically out of the order. But that isn't how it is, and it just but just seeing that Jeb, like, who has lived the entire life of that lifestyle, and then seeing now people kind of go against that, it isn't making him feel comfortable. And I think Andrew definitely performs that. It's not total like, oh, how dare you. It's not that type of reaction, but it's very subtle. It's like, he's slowly losing his mind of like, the more information he gets into this, the more it's affecting him as a person. And he doesn't want that. He wants to still be that same person, especially so close to the same time that his daughters are about to kind of take that first big step into the Mormon life. So everything's up in the rails here, and it could just still be like a big conspiracy theory, but we'll see. Again, I trust the writers more than me, but for this episode, I enjoyed it very much. A little less than last week, but still, you're still keeping the story going. My engagement's still high, and I can't wait to see where things turn out next week as we get now into the second half of the show and see how things will line up, because I want to know. I mean, I still haven't read the book yet. I still haven't logged into Wikipedia to go check the book summary, so I know ahead of time who committed the murder. Like, I'm not trying to do that. Like, so far the characters are keeping me motivated enough to keep me invested into the show and keeping me staying tuned for what the next big information is going to be next. So I can't wait. So yeah. So for me, I'm going to give this episode of Under the Banner of Heaven 2 thumbs up. I enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this week's episode of Under the Banner of Heaven. Again, I apologize if I zoned out a little bit there. My brain is still adjusting. So give me some time. But I believe that's going to do it for me today, everyone. So if you're unaware, this has been What's the Two from ActionX, reviewing every episode in Under the Banner of Heaven, the new Hulu and FX limited series. If you want to know what we're doing normally and What's the Two besides these Banner of Heaven reviews, we're currently doing Rookie and Walker episode reviews each and every week after brand new episodes on the CW and ABC. So go check them out there. If you don't care about Under the Banner of Heaven, you're in luck. We'll be back next week, Friday, with another brand new episode for you. So stay tuned to then. It's starting to get warmer here in New York. I can feel it in my pants. I can feel it in my legs. Like they're getting warm now. It's like it's 70 today. So shorts coming out. I'm always filmed the top. I'm just letting you know that I'm gonna start like leaning towards like a much more of like, hey, we're gonna get into like summer territory, because like I'm still wearing stuff from like, I just realized that I'm still wearing stuff from winter, and winter's been over for a while. I live in New York, by the way, so I'm just letting you know for context that that this is how we are. So we'll leave it at that. But again, please subscribe to us on youtube.com/ActionX videos. Ring that bell for notification when our next episode review is live. Please also like, favorite, share this review if you want to, because it helps us out so much. And please follow us on social media to stay up to date with any sort of updates we may have for our channels, which include the Collection Compass. So go check that out as well. But until I see you again, for all you banners out there, I'll see you then. But until then, stay safe out there, be good to each other, and as always, peace out.